Good evening and welcome to another edition of This is Acsom here at Barra's Art and Design, from the Barrowlands to the Barrowfield. I'm here with Acsom Rabbani, and tonight it's a genuine pleasure to be joined by two bona fide Scottish football legends. One as a player and a coach, and another one that I think I would be fair in saying has become the voice of Scottish football. Gentlemen, welcome to Barra's Art and Design. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. How are we both?
Yeah, great. Thank you for inviting us.
No, listen, the pleasure's definitely ours. I've had the pleasure of sitting in the car with MURDO before this, so probably heard some of what we're going to talk about. But one thing we want to mention up front is that MURDO, fantastic to see you in such great health. I know it's been a rough couple of years for you, but it certainly brings a smile to the face to see you looking so well. And another point we want to mention is the fact that you've got your book coming out towards October of this year, which I believe is you're being supported in writing by Mr. Keevins here, which I think is that your first book in about 10 years?
No, much longer.
Much longer? Wow.
Yeah, my last one was History of the Scottish Cup, which was in 89 or something.
89.
And prior to that, Tommy Burns' biography and Danny McGrain's biography. So I've got a treble now. I was
going to say you've got a treble, and what a career this is going to be to be able to document. I mean, MURDO, what can we look forward to in terms of the book? I mean, is it taking you right through from your beginnings through to time at Celtic to Dortmund to coaching that wonderful team in 1998 and then and beyond?
I've been a lucky person in the football world. Young kids, everybody wanted to be a football player and all that, and ended up going to Dumbarton and signing for Dumbarton and 4 years there, and then go to Glasgow Celtic.
16 at Dumbarton as well, weren't you? 16, can you imagine 16 and making your first team debut at Dumbarton? And I believe you were first involved in a reserve game, and actually you may have come on for a player of a certain stature, I believe.
Yes, it was a strange one. It was we picked up all the players going towards Dundee and going up to Dens Park. It was, oh wow, here we are, we're playing in the big stadium and all that kind of thing. And then we went up, and then all the players on the bus, and we're on the stadium, and then out, and the game started, and half time I'm kind of thinking, I want to get a game here, I want to go on here, but nothing's happening. And Alec Wright, the manager, he's standing there, and he shouted into the middle of the park, "Wispy, 2 minutes, you're coming off." And Wispy, and he looked at me and he says, "MURDO, you're going on now." And I'm, brilliant, here we go. And then I've looked on, and then Wispy starts walking off the park, and I'm, who's Wispy? Who's Wispy? I didn't know who Wispy was. And then he came up and says, "Good luck to you, all the very best." And then he's walked off, and it wasn't until I came off the park I found out who Wispy was. So that's one thing in my life I always talk about.
Yep.
Being a 16-year-old and going on to a professional football park, and you've got a Lisbon Lion there.
And Wispy was William Wallace.
Oh, William Wallace. Yes. So it was fantastic, and it was great getting a chance. No, for the kids in
what an introduction
those days.
Yeah, just such a contrast to today, where we talk about youth football and players coming through, and you think back to that. 16 years old, on you go, son.
You think MURDO had over 100 games for Dumbarton. Before joining Celtic, over 100 games of what they now refer to as men's football.
Yeah,
where you go from boy to man, and then Billy McNeil comes along and you go to Celtic. But that's the basis of the book. There's a tremendous human story here, which I'd rather not have written, but it's what happened to MURDO. And there's a tremendous professional story of 100 games for Dumbarton and more. Celtic, the years there as a player, phenomenal. Dortmund, winning things with Dortmund, who didn't win a lot at that particular time.
Back then, and we spoke about that actually.
Back to Hibs, won a trophy with Hibs.
That's right.
So the tremendous story, professionally and privately.
Absolutely.
You mentioned there obviously the great Billy McNeil, and I think I've seen on record you said he's probably, for you, the greatest ever Celt.
Without doubt.
how did that feel when Billy comes in for you, and how did the kind of interest?
Yeah.
How did you hear about that? How did you feel?
Well, that was the thing. It's that I was fortunate enough that I had choices who I'm going to sign for and all that kind of thing. And Ali Wright had asked me spoke to me, and he says, "Oh, yeah, Aston Villa want you to go down there, and they've offered 70 grand for you and all that kind of thing." And I'm thinking, oh God, what a lot of money. And then he says, "But we've knocked it back." And I said, "Oh no." And then it was just within the next couple of days, and then Ali Wright, we've got Billy McNeil, I've just spoke to Billy on the phone. He wants you to go and sign for Celtic. And I says, "Right, come on then."
Bring it on.
So it was either going up in the train or going up in a car. And it was fantastic. And Ali Wright, he was there. Davy Wilson, he was there. And then Billy's there, and John Clark's there, and I'm Lisbon Lions are all over the place here, and it was just fantastic. But Billy spoke to me about playing for Celtic, and I'm thinking, get into the team, and I knew a few of the players, playing in the Scotland under 21s and all that kind of thing. So that was great. But Billy, he says, "You'll play on Saturday against Motherwell," and I'm, wow, here we go.
20 years old.
So straight on the park.
You were homeless because you lost 2-1.
Who can I blame? But it was fantastic because the Motherwell team on and the referees blowing the whistle just to get everybody kind of ready, and then this guy came walking over, and it was Paul Wilson, ex-Celtic. But I knew him really well because he was from Mulgai, the same place I was brought up.
Quality Street kids, wasn't he? Was he one of the Quality Street gang? Paul Wilson.
That era of Douglas and McGrain.
I was going to say,
Paul was a good player, and a winger, and up and down, and scores goals and all that kind of thing. But he came over and shook my hand and says, "Wish you all the best. Enjoy yourself." And when after that, I enjoyed all my games.
Yeah.
No, even games that you lose. Yeah. But then you're always thinking, we'll need to get better, we'll need to get stronger, we want to win everything.
MURDO makes it abundantly clear in the book how high his regard is for Billy McNeil.
Mm-hmm.
And for younger people, you have to understand the iconic stature of this man.
Absolutely.
There are dates that you remember all your life. I mean, I get married on the 14th of August. I was born on the 12th of November. On the 5th of January 1970, I started in newspapers.
Yep.
And on the 6th of January, I was outside Celtic Park interviewing Billy McNeil. Now, Billy McNeil had been in the business, if you can call it that, for 24 hours. And Billy McNeil treated me like an experienced man in the business, gave me proper respect, time, and showed me kindness. And
fantastic.
That was the measure of the man, because 2.5 years earlier in Lisbon, he was the first Briton to hold the European Cup. And here he has some kid who's just started, and he was an absolute gentleman, and that's why he had the same effect on MURDO straight away.
Yeah, just that kind of charisma and presence. I was telling MURDO, my first experience of Billy McNeil was actually outside a church near the Barras, and he was standing out there. And I think at this point he would have been the manager at Celtic, and all I remember is I'd heard stories about Billy and the Lisbon Lions. Obviously not old enough to remember it myself, but my father told me lots of stories. I just remember this giant of a man. I've never seen a man to this day look so big in my life, and I think it was just about
the week before MURDO signed for Celtic. Celtic lost to Hearts at Tynecastle, and always you try and get the manager a kind of soft question just to get the interview going.
Sure.
And someone said to Billy, "Any injuries?" I said, "How would he get injured?" "Fallen in the bath." And I thought, oh, Biggin's not happy. And a matter of days later, he signed MURDO and Davy Provan, and the season changed. It's just changed in terms of momentum, impetus, and it led to the 4-2 game with MURDO scoring the 4th goal.
1979, yeah. Just not to make you gents feel any older, but that was the year before I was born. So I never got to see that.
Yeah.
I never got to see that live, but I was aware of it. And actually, I don't know if you've seen this. I believe there was a television ban on during that game. So the coverage is very, very
limited.
very
There
limited.
was a strike among the cameramen, technicians, what have you.
And yet, I think that goal, the goal that MURDO scored, which I believe was the 4th goal, was voted, I think, the greatest Old Firm goal, and I believe may still be to this day. So I managed to get some grainy footage, probably the earliest days of supporters filming. It's not the days of today where you've got a phone and you can film everything. This was the days of really old style, home cameras. And there's some grainy footage, and all you can see really on this grainy footage is MURDO getting ready to line up the shot. And then the camera pans so fast that you can't actually see the ball, which I wonder if that was the goalkeeper's view. But Hugh, you'll be aware of this, but MURDO and we were talking about a story in the car, and I believe it was there was a Rangers player called Colin Jackson said that was his favourite goal, because it took the pressure off him. He'd scored the earlier.
Yeah, well, you can imagine, can imagine having to live the rest of your life as the man who scored the own goal that won Celtic the title.
Absolutely.
So he was delighted when MURDO banged it in. But I mean, people said that night that as MURDO gathers the ball, the clock is ticking down.
Yeah.
The atmosphere inside the park was electric,
because we're holding on right at that point.
And as somebody shouted, "Don't shoot!" the ball went into the net in between "don't" and shoot. And that was that.
I'm similar to Chris. I was too young to remember it, but it's definitely one of the games and title wins that my dad talks about, and we'll go on to obviously talk about some other ones, but it seems that there's a theme that some of these most dramatic and famous title wins you've been a big part of. In terms of that game itself, just to set the scene, obviously Celtic had to win. For Rangers, they just needed to draw. We go a man down, we're a goal down.
Doyley sent off.
Harshly sent off, from what I'm led to believe. How were you? Because from all accounts, you're obviously a very confident player. We had a good squad. Did you feel at that point things were going against us, it's not going to be our day, or did you always have that belief that we can turn this around?
I think going down to 10 men, we all thought, we've got to work harder. We've got to work harder. We've got to run them, and that's all it was. Like we went onto the park and we played well, and we scored again, and then we scored at the end of the game. And these kind of things, for the rest of your life, you've got that. You've got it. To be part of it, it's fantastic. You talk about all the Celtic supporters, the young Celtic supporters, they've never seen the game, they've never seen a game like that against Rangers or anything like that. But the older generation, they remember every single touch of the ball. Even me Doyley, it was Alec McDonald went down in the ground and there was 4 or 5 players round about him, and me Doyley went over to him and gave him a wee kick. And he says, "Come on, wee man, hurry up and get up." And after that, the referee, he's up and he's got the cards out and all that kind of thing. And but nobody bothered. Nobody thought, "Oh, we're down to 10 men. We'll go out here. Let's work harder." And we just kept on battling away. And then at the end, when I had a chance to shoot, I had it in my head, people are shouting, don't shoot, and all that kind of thing. And I thought, I'm going to hit the ball as hard as I can. And if I miss the goal, I'll go up the Celtic end, and the fans will keep the ball, and they'll waste the time.
So there was a plan.
It's the end of the story, it's the end of the game. And then I just hit it. And then it was the far side, and Peter McCloy always, every time I see him, he's always
iconic.
In 1979, MURDO said he was 20 years out. In 1989, he said he was 25 years out. In 1999, he said he was 30 years out. And by the time the noughties came along, he hit it at Belmarn.
That's the thing with such little footage. You know, whatever you say goes.
This is strikers inflation, I think. I've heard a few Celtic players. I think there's a famous one. John Hartson says the same thing.
The one at Anfield.
I think at some point he's hitting that from a different country by the time he's finished.
Because that was the time when we played at Ibrox, and I scored late in the game and all that, and it was, I think, 2-0. And then Big Billy's, if all the players round Big Billy and all this kind of thing, when we went up the tunnel and into the dressing room, and then everybody's getting ready and all that, I'm ready, and then Big Billy's saying, "Come on, wee man, we'll go up and see Deedle Doddle." That's Willie Waddle.
Waddle, of course.
And he says, "Come on, we'll go and tell him his new stadium's fantastic." But these things give you a massive lift.
Yeah.
You know, when you're on the park and you're 10 foot tall.
100%. I can imagine. Yeah. And Hugh, how from your period as a journalist at that point, being able to cover moments like that, and how did your association with MURDO come about as well?
The day after the 4-2 game, I was told to go out and, to use a newspaper term from that era, get MURDO signed up. To do the newspaper is now out of business altogether. It was called the Weekly News,
right?
And signed MURDO up for a 3-week series. So went out, we did the work, and then MURDO and Mary's wife came out to our house. We were in Dundalk at that time, and MURDO and I went across the road. My pal owned the pub across the road. Now, the best time to go into that particular pub was with the guy who scored the goal that won the league.
Absolutely.
But MURDO didn't drink at all. I did. But I just remember the phone call. My pal lifted the phone and he said, "Oh, Janet for you." And he said, "I don't care how long you stay in there, but you tell MURDO MACLEOD to get across the road."
Oh dear.
Because Mary was 8.5 months pregnant at the time.
Oh, goodness me.
So we cemented our friendship, but when the door closed, I think I might have got a rap across the knuckles.
I was going to say, I think, yeah, that's so your first encounter. Not only does he use you to get free drinks, but then he also gets you into trouble.
That's it.
The ire of a pregnant wife. Wow, yeah. Fantastic. Now I think Acsom mentioned something quite important there, and it was something as I was doing a bit of research for meeting you, as much as I've got the hero worship element. But you make a good point about the amount of really iconic moments, particularly in that period as a player that you were involved in. We've spoken about the game in 1979. Another one that a lot of people mention, we've got the cup final game against Rangers as well, where I think we scored the second Celtic's goal, was the third goal to win it.
Yeah, can I tell you what happened there as well?
Yeah, please.
Because all the journalists have followed, obviously getting a wee something before the cup final and all that kind of thing. And then it was the first player to score will get a gold watch, and the last player to score will get a gold watch. And then Charlie Nick scored.
You got the gold watch.
I scored the middle one,
the winner essentially.
and then Jim Betts scored the last one. Yeah. So the two of them get watches, and I didn't say one. But scoring a
the
goal,
winning goal
at Hampden, roof of the net, and all the Celtic fans behind watched it all going in.
It goes both ways. If you have a habit of scoring against Celtic and you're a Rangers player, you are enshrined in history. If you are a Celtic player who made a habit of scoring against Rangers in vital matches, then you are enshrined as well. And MURDO, the 4-2 game, and MURDO with Wim Jansen, if you had those two moments in your life, the 4-2 game and the 2-0 win over St Johnstone with MURDO and Wim, that would be enough. Those two moments would be enough for anybody.
What a legacy! Yeah.
But you measure the career that came in between.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We've still to get on to, obviously, the miracle at Love Street, but even before that, there was so much that happened. 6 months into your Celtic career, you're already a league winner. Was that like a pinch yourself moment that you've gone from Dumbarton into the Celtic team and you're a league winner playing in front of 50,000 fans? Yeah. Or did you kind of have that confidence that was the trajectory your career was heading?
Yeah, it just lifts you. Obviously, Rangers, to beat Rangers, last game was something special. Yep. You know, every fan, that's all they want.
The dream
is Celtic to beat Rangers, and now this was special because when we were warming up or just training through that whole week, and that's all the players. That's all they were talking about. We've got to win. We've got to win. It just it's in your head, and when you've got that in your head, as soon as you get on the park, you're just desperate.
How was Billy in the build up to that? Like, was there any kind of special pre-match talk or anything before that game? Or
Billy was a short wee chat about let's win it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. This is what an opportunity. And looking at 4 or 5 of us under 22 or something like that. It was a young team. With George McCluskey and Big Roy and myself and Tam Burns and you've got a young side out there playing there. And then you're looking at the Rangers team. With Ali McDonald and Derek Johnson and all these big names, and you thought, when you're a young boy, I want to play against them, I want to beat them and all that kind of thing. And that's what it was all about, getting to the fight, the last game, and to win it was special.
They had a photo call the morning after the game. Strips on, league trophy, and there's a former Celtic player in the book who is willing to admit that MURDO MACLEOD was the only sober person in the photo. Because MURDO didn't drink, of course, and was up there, bright as a button in the morning for the photo call. Not so the rest of them.
Wow. So were you given the responsibility to go and hustle them up?
Keep them more sober.
Fantastic. Now, Acsom mentioned the miracle at Love Street, and this is one that even from an early age I'd heard about. I remember my dad talking about it. Not quite sure as a young kid in the 80s what all the fuss is about. I'm just thinking, this is my Celtic team, they're winning. But then years later you're listening to songs that they still sing about that night. What's your memories of that night? I mean, yourself, MURDO, and then obviously Hugh as well.
The St Mirren one, Hugh had interviewed me about 10 games to go or something like that, and he says, what do you think? And I says, we'll win them all, we'll not get beat, we'll go and we'll end up, and then obviously you end up looking to see who was the last game, and you're St Mirren and that, but St Mirren were a very good side, and then it says, right, well, we've got to go there and beat them. So it just, the whole thing, we just kept on winning games. I think we drew a couple, didn't we? And then
the Hearts side that we were up against were a
Hearts side, because they were sitting at the top of the league for a long time.
A long unbeaten run.
26 games, unbeaten.
So it was going to be tough for us, but we had to. We couldn't let Hearts just win the league. We had to do something about it. And then we went out and we played one of our best games of the season. The football, we passed the ball really well. We scored one of the best goals of the season. It was just, and it's when you're on the park, and then we've 1-0, 2-0, 3-0. It's going up and it's going up. So we're getting to the stage of we've done our wee bit here, but we've got to keep on going in case anything happens. And then, I remember that night watching the game on television and the wee bits and pieces, and their goalkeeper, he's picking the ball up, and just at that, there's a big cheer went up, and he nearly he got a wee fright, as you say. But and it was a goal at Dens Park, the first goal.
Albert Kids, yeah.
But again, even at that game, when we came off at half time, someone's saying it's 1-0 for Dundee, and we're but away up, and then when we're coming back onto the park, somebody says, no, it's nothing each.
Yeah. See, the days long before Sky Sports News, long before a little line passed around the bottom of your telly and told you what the score was of all these rounds.
Yep. So
that day, the Radio Clyde team covering the match live, Richard Park, who was the originator of Super Scoreboard, Jimmy Sanderson, who was the legend, the prototype, and me. And at Dens Park was a Lisbon Lion, Jim Craig. And it was Jim Craig who brought the news of Albert Kidd having made it 1-0. Wow. And that's the moment where Jim Stewart has the ball in his hands and suddenly think, what are they cheering about?
standing there.
And then there's an iconic photograph of Davy Probin, who had his illness at the time, but he's in the dugout, and he is, with that, it's 2. At full time, it was just bedlam.
Yeah.
Bedlam.
Yeah.
Just as we were talking about, obviously that famous day at Love Street, one of the goals in that game, well, less said about the goal scorer, but the goal itself, the third goal that Mo Johnson put away, one of the probably greatest team goals, not just that season, but that I can remember seeing, whether it's in person or in TV coverage. Talk about your memories of that.
I think you played a part in that one,
Yeah,
didn't you?
yeah, I did. It's amazing. Danny McGrain was just inside our box, and the balls came to me, or Danny's played the pass to me, and I've passed it back to Danny, and then Danny's moved forward, and then Big Roy's got the ball, Paul McStay's touched the ball, who else? Brian McClare, and then it was a pass, and it's a pass, and a pass, and a nutmeg, and a pass, and then a pass right across the 6-yard box, and Mo Johnson putting the ball into the net.
Brilliant.
But again, it was that's one of the goals that you would always look at for that team.
Yeah.
How we scored it under so much pressure to win the league and all that kind of thing, and we were still passing the ball really well.
Yeah.
Against a really good St Mirren side.
There's a theme here though that MURDO, you really like to make Celtic fans sweat on these final day celebrations, but
absolutely,
you were part of so many of these great moments. Hugh, obviously at the time as well, just reporting it all. How influential was MURDO in the success of Celtic in that first half of the 80s?
Well, as I said, he arrived when the club was mid-table, MURDO, David Probin, and the momentum built, and everything hinged on the final game against Rangers at Celtic Park. So in half a season, the kid from Dumbarton had helped lift a whole football club and scored the goal that sealed a league title win. Thereafter, I mean, MURDO was called the Rhino by the Celtic supporters. The book is called MURDO because that was the Celtic fans' chant. Thereafter, he became increasingly important. And also to have that happy knack of scoring big goals on major occasions. And if your only rival probably in the country is Rangers, to have the knack of scoring big goals against Rangers adds to the legend. So when MURDO did go from Celtic, he left having had an outstanding playing career that was recognised obviously not only in Scotland but in Germany.
Yeah, I think it's an important one to touch on to, and obviously we've got further memories from Celtic to come as we get into the late 90s. But at that time, heading towards the end of the 80s, and I don't think it was quite as common for Scottish players to go abroad. Obviously now we've got players like Lewis Ferguson doing great out in Italy. We've had a few Celtic players go out to Germany and further afield. Ollie Burke, I think at the time, was still one of the biggest transfers in Scottish hockey careers. He's become a bit of a journeyman, but at the same time, I think back at that period, there wasn't a lot of players would make a move like that. So how did the move to Dortmund come about, MURDO?
Obviously there was problems with my contract. That when David Hay was the manager, and then Big Billy, he came back to Celtic.
Yeah.
But my contract, and Big Billy I asked him for a bit of advice, and when we spoke about where I was going and the stadium and the players and the club and going to play in Germany and give me a few bob and all that kind of thing. Everything was, but Big Billy was very positive about the whole thing, and Big Billy's, the way he spoke, then I knew
it was the right one.
It was the right one, Big Billy. So it was great going to Dortmund.
But you're right in what you say. I mean, Alan McInally was at Bayern.
München.
But it wasn't commonplace.
Yeah.
No. So MURDO went, and I always had great respect for the whole MACLEOD family, because they went there and assimilated themselves into the German culture.
For goodness sakes, it's not just MURDO this impacts. I mean, you're uprooting your entire family to...
Girls all spoke fluent German. Mary, fluent German.
Yeah.
MURDO, pidgin German. So it was 3 years in Dortmund where a major trophy was won. And if you ever have a chance to look at Jurgen Klopp's book, you'll find that there's only one Scottish player mentioned in his book.
This one. Fabulous.
So that's the impact that he had on German football as well.
You were obviously still at that time in your late 20s, huge amount to offer, in a footballing sense, as we saw when you went to Dortmund. Yet Billy McNeill, probably a measure of how he viewed you, not just as a player, as a man, he was actually one saying, no, do you know what, this is a good move for you. And did he almost give you his blessing to go and make that move happen?
Yeah, it wasn't as if, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? He says, this will be good for you. Because Billy, when we were players at Celtic, Billy used to take us to Germany. We used to play all the amateur German clubs and all that kind of things, for pre-season, and we used to go there, and Big Billy had a pal out there, and he would always talk to his pal, anything was going on and all that, and really looked after the whole club at the time going to Germany, and it was fantastic. But when I went over there, I always remember going out there for the first time, and there was an agent boy wanted to do the contract and all that kind of thing. And to this day, I think I was the first ever player to play in the Bundesliga with Nike boots on. Oh. And I was an Adidas player. It was really strange that this agent guy who was involved in all this kind of thing, and I was at Celtic, I was Adidas, and we went out there, and all the clubs, every player had to play. It was Puma or Adidas, and we went out there, and this agent boy saying, "You're going to play with Nike," and I'm saying, "What, Nike? What's that?" And then we went, and then I tried them on, and they're a wee bit kind of stiff and all that kind of thing, and nothing like the Adidas here. But I was out there, and then I went to their factory and got some shoes and all that, and all this kind of thing. But it was gradually they were getting better.
Yeah.
So I was still the only one for a good while, and then Dortmund, I think it was after about a year and a half, Dortmund must have started speaking to Nike, because
Wow.
Dortmund went Nike, and then a lot of the players, they were playing in the games and all this kind of thing, and I'm saying enjoying the boots, and they're kind of laughing, and then they're looking down, and then underneath they've got the Adidas boots on, but with the Nike
logo
swoosh on it and all that kind of thing.
You were the trailblazer, MURDO.
They were the ones, but there was the whole squad ended up
You had
using.
to understand the social conditions at the time. Players weren't getting £25,000 a week or anything like it. Billy was from Bellshill. Billy understood the working class culture.
Yeah.
And if a player is invited to play in another country and he is able to support his family in a way that he might not have dreamed of, then that's a decision that the player has to take,
Yeah.
and a decision that involves Billy saying to MURDO, I can truthfully stand in your way.
Yeah.
So that was the relationship that MURDO had with Billy. And as I say, Billy understood there comes a point where you simply cannot be an impediment to someone who's going to be able to support his family.
So MURDO, you've got your move to Germany and Dortmund, and as fate would transpire, not long after, there's a UEFA Cup draw which brings you back to Celtic Park, and much like Henrik Larsson and Harold Brattbakk and Joe Inge Berget more recently.
Who was that last one?
Came back to haunt Celtic in that visit with Dortmund winning 3-2. But what was your kind of memories of when that draw came about, and how did you feel about your experience coming back to Celtic Park?
Yeah, because obviously it was not like a dream to go back to Celtic Park.
Yeah.
The amount of phone calls I'm getting, and people are saying, "Oh, you're going back to Celtic Park" and all this kind of thing. But it's just a game that I wanted to win.
Yeah.
I wanted the Celtic fans, Celtic players know that I'm at a football club that can do something.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was. And I can remember going onto the pitch, and the fans were fantastic. When they were singing my name, MURDO, MURDO, and all that kind of thing. And then even during the game, free kick, 25 yards out, and they're all singing MURDO, MURDO.
For Celtic, the free kick.
For a free kick for Celtic, because it's usually I'm maybe hitting it. Because it used to be Davy Prover and me
Sharing the
used to get together, and Davy used to just roll the ball, and I used to just
ping it.
ping it, whatever side, left foot, right foot, anywhere at all. But I used to score goals from these distances. And then when we're on the park and we were battling away, and we were 1-0 down, and then we scored, and then I was the biggest smiling anywhere. And then I think it was Derek White.
Yeah.
He scored a goal and with about 6 minutes to go or something like that. So we were 2-1 down. So we're hoping to win back in Dortmund. And then every Dortmund player I spoke to before the game, we've got to win. We've got to win.
Yeah.
You had to win. And then we're out on the park, and I'm playing against Big Roy's there, and you're looking at him, and he's shouting as well, pushing all the Celtic players on. And then I kept on winding them up and all that kind of thing. And then our big striker scored the first goal, and then he got another goal, and we knocked Celtic out. So it was great for me, because there was a good Celtic support has travelled all the way to Dortmund to do it.
Incredible. But actually also coincided with the point where your international career started to come to fruition as well. And you get a phone call from not just any manager, but the manager. The boss. Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, that was. I still, to this day, don't know if it was Roy Aitken or somebody that phoned me. But we were sitting, I was sitting in the house, and the phones, and I picked it up, and I says, hello? And it was, hello. it's Mr. Steen here. And my eyes are lighting up here, and then I'm thinking, it's Roy Aitken here. And he says, MURDO, Mr. Steen here. How would you like to play as an over-age player in Iceland next Tuesday or something? And I says, yes, that'd be great, And then hung up, and then that was me.
Wow.
And then sitting in the house, then 5 minutes later, phone went again. Hello, MURDO, it's Mr. Steen again. How would you like to play against England on Saturday? And I said, wow, yes, of course. And then when we ended up going to the hotel, and I'm looking at all the boys, all the Scotland players, all the boys, and I'm thinking, that's great to see him, great to see all the Scotland boys and be part of it. And it was great. And then they were all putting in what they wanted for their dinner. And I'm sitting there, and then I says, right, okay. And I've put in my order. And then one of the staff came in at 7:30, and he's come walking in, and he's holding a plate away up here. Right, who's got the prawn cocktail? And I put my hand up, and then Mr. Steen turned round, and he's looking over, and he's looking at me, and then he shouted to me, do you get a prawn cocktail in your house on a Friday night? And I says, no. And he says, well, you're not getting one here. Oh, no. So that was me. I don't know, if you're going out, when you're if it's a Saturday night or whatever time, you never think about it. But me, I like prawns and all that kind of thing. And for him to say, just take that away, take it away and all that kind of thing. But to be part of the squad, that was a big one for me. And then I remember, and I shouted over to me, go and get warmed up into the second half. And I'm running, and then we scored. Richard Goff scored with a header. And then I'm jumping about, I'm giving it all that kind of thing. And then I thought, oh, he might not change it now.
Yeah.
But he did change it. Gordon Strachan was coming off, and then I'm going on, and he put his arm round me, and he took me over to the side of the pitch, and it was right on the line, and I'm still looking down at the line. I've still not played for Scotland yet.
Wow.
And as soon as I stepped over the line, that was it.
Brilliant.
Not even any run to the other side of the park. That was nothing. It was just that line to go over.
I mean, playing for Scotland for any young Scottish footballer must be an immensely proud thing to do. I can't, as a non-player, I can't think of, much that would top that. But when you talk about actually being led over by Jock Stein, of all people, in such a manner, which I don't even think you see that much in modern football. The manager's usually there doing instructions, and the players get themselves over. You're being led over for your first experience, your first cap. By the great Jock Stein. That's
so special, especially when you're at Hampden Park and you're playing England. I've been fortunate enough in my life to win things and cup finals and do this and score here and all that, but to be part of the Scotland team was just because I was at the age that was older than most of the players and all that kind of thing. Yeah. And it's
You're talking about in Jock Stein, the most iconic, charismatic, dominant presence that you could ever wish to find. A man who'd become the first ever to win the European Cup. Yep. And his presence was such that in 1970 I remember him being told, do not ask Jock a question unless you're absolutely sure it's a sensible question.
So it wasn't even amongst the players, and the fact it was actually with the journalists. And
so I waited until 1975 before that.
It was a good question.
It must have been, but MURDO knows, because MURDO tells the story in the book. But
fantastic.
Jock wouldn't pick MURDO because James Sanderson on Radio Clyde, everyone listened to him. He was the man at Radio Clyde, and he kept saying, why is MACLEOD not in this Scotland squad? Why is MACLEOD? And Neely Mochan, who was a Celtic kit man, said to MURDO, you won't get a game for Scotland as long as Jimmy Sanderson keeps saying that, because Jock will not put you in and people thinking he only did that because the press are
radio. Yeah.
So Jimmy left Radio Clyde to go and work elsewhere, and in the next Scotland squad,
and he was
MACLEOD.
Oh,
brilliant.
Fantastic. MURDO, we've covered obviously your early career with Dumbarton. We've spoken about your journey into Celtic, some rubbing shoulders with some of the Lisbon Lions, both as players and indeed when he came to Scotland with the great man, Mr. Steen himself. And it's interesting, we talk about players going out to Germany and Dortmund, and one of the players that you actually ended up signing in that famous 1998 season was Paul Lambert, who of course played at Borussia Dortmund and came to be part of that team in 1998. Can you tell us a little bit about how you came, what your journey was back to Celtic as assistant coach to Wim Jansen?
Yeah, it just came from nowhere. David Hay was on. He was one of the scouts here and looking about, and then I got a phone call from Davy and asked me would I like to be a coach at Celtic, and I says yes, I would like to be a coach. That'd be great.
Yeah, you were coming off a Partick Thistle just prior to that.
Yeah, that's right. And I was just back from holiday and all that kind of thing, and then Davy Hay asked me, he says, I don't know what coach you're going to be, but we'd like you to come in as a coach. And then there was 2 or 3, Packy Bona was about, Willie McStay was about, there was no kind of a big 4 or 5 coaches all standing there and getting all the players fit for the new season and all that kind of thing. And then we used to take them running round the water round at Motherwell and all that kind of thing. Used to do that and gradually getting the players fitter. And then we went over to Holland, and we're in Holland, and then still no manager.
Yeah.
And then you're hearing, oh, it's going to be so and so, it's going to be this guy, it's going to be that guy. And then it was Wim Jansen, and nobody had heard of Wim Jansen. And then Wim came over and he got introduced to myself and the players, and it was really nice. And it was the first game the next day.
Yeah.
And then we're standing, it's spitting our rain and all that kind of thing, and I'm out and I'm shouting to the players, come on, keep on going, and because we were winning about 24-0 or something. And but the players kept on going, and the goals went up and all that kind of thing. And then Vim's saying to me, just sit down, you can sit down. And then I jumped up again. I told you to sit down, you can sit down if you want, and all that kind of thing. But it was just keeping all the boys going. And then Wim was sitting there, and then the game finished, and then we had dinner at night and all that kind of thing. And then he took me to the side and says, how would you like to be my assistant manager?
Wow.
And right away, wow. Because I knew, because I watched Tommy the whole time, what's happened, and now we've got to stop Rangers winning 10 in a row. And that for me was the big thing. It wasn't making players better and better and better. It was just, these players were great for us.
Yeah.
You obviously went on to build such a great bond with Wim and his family and your family. Was there that kind of instant connection with him, and did he realise the importance as well of that season? It was. We got on so well together, and with the families, I spoke to young Wim 2 days ago, and he was at the finals and all that kind of thing, watching all that kind of thing, and they'd blethering away, and but it was the families. We got together every time, and even young Wim's pals were all coming to Celtic Park to watch that whole year, watch
and they're flying over from Holland, and it was great. And they were coming in, and you're chatting to them, and Vim's doing well and all that. And I says it's fantastic. Brilliant. He's so good, and all the players. And then there was a Saturday after we watched the telly, and the Friday night, and the Friday night was the Holland goal. Holland against Scotland, and Archie Gemmill. It was Archie Gemmill.
Oh, the famous goal, yeah.
And Vim had already been talking to the players, and he says, stay in your feet, all the time, stay in your feet, don't dive in. And then next minute, all the players started laughing. And they're all and Vim's looking at me, and why are they laughing? And they says, they watched you last night in the television against Scotland when you slid in your backside.
Brilliant.
And Vim, it's good. And he waved to all the boys.
So he had that kind of rapport with them already.
It was great, honestly. It was, but for that, but it was, the whole thing was triggered by the players, because they all watched Vim playing for Holland, playing in the World Cup. And he's on his backside, and all the other boys.
Oh, brilliant!
So it was smashing, and I can't even mind what happened in the game at Celtic Park. But the whole thing, but Vim was so good. No, he didn't say, "What do you mean, me sliding in my backside?"
We fast forward to kind of that famous season. Hugh, obviously we all know how that season started with the 2 defeats. First Easter Road, Henrik Larsson's debut, Chick Charnley, then at home to Dunfermline.
Can I tell you about Chick?
On you go.
Henrik's giving the ball away, and then Chick's pinging the ball in, and it's down that end, and then I'm sitting in the dugout and I'm cursing, and then Chick's running up the side. Then he comes over to our dugout and he says, "MURDO, tell the wee man I'm a Celtic supporter."
Brilliant.
Fun.
And I says, I'll get you again. Don't worry.
This is how good the book is. That story's in it.
A wee plug.
I mean, Hugh, everything we've spoken about so far about Murdo's career, he always seems to be there when the chips are down and we need something. And for every Celtic supporter who had lived through that period, the 9 in a row in the 90s from Rangers, Graham Souness, Walter Smith, it was after all the success in the 80s, and then through the 90s you've got this real period of, come on, when are we going to stop the rot? And you hoped we would do it under Tommy, God rest his soul. But coming in there, what was the kind of journalistic view of the team? Did anybody think this is the team that's going to stop the night?
Well, the one thing that staggered me was the emotional build-up, because the closer you get to the end of the season, naturally the tension increases.
Yeah.
And when your pal is the assistant manager, but he was always oblivious to the outside noise, as they call it now. But your pal's there involved, and the tension on the day of the St Johnstone game was incredible. And when it was all over, what I couldn't understand was he went home. Other people would have been in the boardroom with a crate of champagne.
Yeah.
But he went home and went to his bed. And Wim Jansen went back to his home and went to his bed because they were emotionally spent.
Yeah.
No matter what they say or think, they keep it to themselves and they absorb the pressure. I was in the Radio Clay studio when the Dunfermline game finished, and the first caller on the line said, "Get Jansen out and get him out tonight before this gets any worse." And MURDO, of course, we on the phone said that. But the build-up was incredible, and how they lived with it, I will never know. But no big party, no lavish celebration. Mary alleges that she bought fish and chips on the way home. He has no recollection of that. And he went straight to bed. So you can imagine that they could then just, the tension was lifted. The weight was lifted from my shoulders.
Oh, I remember it. I mean, the St Johnstone game, the tension before the game, and it wasn't. And there's a wonderful video out there of Henrik, and he's running with the ball, and he's running. And actually, the focus is not on Henrik; it's on the crowd, and you can see the tension and the crowd. And I remember feeling that at the time. And once he hits that shot from outside the box and it goes in at the top corner, a wave. I mean, a wave of relief. We've done the first hard part. How was that? Just standing on the sidelines.
But it came back. No, it was 6 minutes when Henrik scored or something like that, and everybody was singing and dancing it, and then within, because obviously I was there, and then watching the game, watching the team, and then it was on television about 5 months later. The whole game was on, and I didn't realise how we played, because the fans were all shaking the whole time. The amount of players that were passing the ball out the park and all that kind of thing. And I'm thinking at the time, sitting in the dugout, we're doing all right here. And it's not until you see it, you're seeing mistakes and all that. And St Johnstone were trying hard to get by us. They couldn't get by us. And
they had that sitter, didn't they? Was it George
O'Boyle?
But one sitter in 90 minutes isn't bad.
No bad.
And that's what I laugh at, people saying, oh, there was a chance for him.
Just the one.
But he never scored, did he?
It was when Harold scored. I think that's when the relief, you could just feel the relief on it.
Yeah, you thought that's it. We've done it.
And that was a kind of overriding sense of emotion. I remember, I was 10 at the time, but I remember it vividly. And my dad, I think we were listening on the radio at the time, we didn't have Sky Sports, and he just collapsed onto the floor in just sheer relief.
Yeah.
And that shows you as fans, that's how much it takes out of you, but what it must have been like for you guys. So no wonder you went home to bed that night.
Well, that was the thing, you're on there and you've got whatever it was, 40,000 fans and all that kind of thing, and it was great seeing them all in the park and all that kind of thing, and because the stadium was still getting rebuilt and all that kind of thing. But all the fans coming on, and then they're all off, and then that was the time I walked with him. Walked down, and he looked at me and he says, what a way to go.
Incredible. And what did it mean to Vim from your memory? I mean, what did that, just winning it?
Oh, the whole thing is, he never got on with the people here. And what can you do?
Yeah,
he was there as if you've got all the football people maybe talking to him all the time and all that's different.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen.
I think for me though, what that did, because obviously it didn't just end 9 years of hurt, as we all talk about. What it did for me was lay the foundations for what then came just a few short years later. Okay, we had a bit of a blip for the next couple of years, but that, I don't think you have the Martin Neil era moving on to the Gordon Strachan era and all the sustained success we have without those foundations that you set. It's too simple to say, well, you signed Henrik Larsson, and it was a hell of a lot more.
But it's a good point than that you make, because if Rangers had won 10 in a row, the impact on Celtic would have been lengthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
By the same token, when Celtic didn't get across the line to win 10 in a row, it was a crushing blow. So that day was extremely important. I knew it was time to go home when the radio programme had finished. MURDO had brought out a wee bottle of champagne to give me a swig, and I looked and I thought, Henrik Larsson's sitting in the director's box wearing a Henrik Larsson mask. It must be time for me to go home now.
Things have taken a turn for the surreal.
The day has gone surreal. It's time to go home. But anyone who was there, as anyone who was there in '79 when MURDO scored,
of course,
people who were there will simply never forget the moment.
Yeah. And just to something to finish off, because obviously we're running out of time, and I think both myself and Acsom would probably testify we could sit here all day and listen to you both. But I think, we mentioned the fact that MURDO, you seem to have always been there around the team in times of strife when we needed, just that bit of luck, that little, that you know, we needed that Tasmanic figure. And I think, you know, what you've faced over the last couple of years in terms of your own health, and as I said at the outset, nothing makes us happier, see you up and about and looking so well. But looking back at your career, it doesn't surprise me that even through all that adversity, you've still managed to kick on and get over the line again. So, sir, it's been an absolute pleasure. We wish you absolutely nothing but the best, and look forward to the book coming out in October.
Great, thank you very
Murdo,
much.
thank you very much.
Thank you
indeed.
very much.
Hugh.
Thank you very much.
And Hugh, can I just ask your prediction for next season as well in the league?
Who would believe me?
Thank you again for tuning in to the latest edition of This is Acsom. I'm Chris McElwain. I've been joined by Acsom Rabbani, and it's been an absolute privilege to be joined by both Hugh Keevins and MURDO MACLEOD.